So it's not a must-have. Let's start there. But you're a product manager for technology products, for tech products. So you gotta have a very good understanding of technology and why do you need to have that understanding? And so it's different, right? Understanding and ability to understand what you're looking at and how it can be applied and how and the architecture and how it works is different from being an engineer that needs to be able to write code. It's not the same thing, right? And I want to make the distinction because a lot of people ask me the exact same question. I think it is advantageous to have engineering background because it lends itself to understanding better technology, but it's not a must-have. You can still have that experience through other venues, but you got to have that. Why is it important? It's important because when you look at technology, you got to understand what it can do for you. You got to understand its limitations and what you can use it with. So it puts constraints on what you define it. It helps you understand what the scope of things might have. Obviously, you need the engineering team to weigh in heavily on that, but it gives you even just looking at something gives you you have a understanding under what it can, what's the scope of that thing might be. How would it apply to your end customers? What you can do with it, and also you gotta be able to have intelligent conversations and pushback on your engineering team, right? Because if you don't have enough of that, they might give you answers that are not really satisfactory, and sometimes people need to be pushed a bit to get to a better outcome. And if you can't have that back and forth, it will hurt your credibility. They can tell you things that you might have needed, you could have pushed back on if you knew a bit better. I would argue, right, that if you're too technical, it's also bad. Why it is bad? Because then you might get into arguments with engineering about how to implement things, right? And that's not your job as a product manager. Your job is not to dictate, or you could weigh in, you could give your thoughts as part of a discussion, but you should never argue for a very specific implementation because that's why engineering is there. That's why they're paid heavily. They're intelligent people that know their job, right? So you got to make sure that you're not over gravitating towards dictating implementation. That's their job. You just need to give them the requirements and have a good discussion on why the scope is that way, and if you do it a different way, will it change the scope? And so you need understanding, but you don't absolutely need engineering background. And one last word on that, by the way, I think that is really driven, I believe, from that myth of having the engineering background is driven by the fact that Google, one of the most successful technology companies in the world, only hires for if you have engineering background, and that's kind of their own value set that lends people to believe that everyone is looking for those things. And the other piece on that is there are technical product management roles which you should have a very strong engineering background in order to be effective in your job. But it's not the only type of jobs, right? You can have different product management roles